I'm talking to Michelle Rowland, who's the Communications Minister. On another matter, you're looking at the reforms of your Misinformation and Disinformation Bill. One of the big concerns over this bill is that it doesn't include politicians. Why are you lot exempt?
Well, part of this process that we've undertaken in consultation is to genuinely engage people in this, because we know that some 70% of Australians are concerned about the impact of mis and disinformation online, the scale and the speed of spread.
Sure, but I think it's fair to say many Australians are concerned about the level of mis and disinformation from our politicians. Why on earth would that cohort of people and political advertising be exempt?
I should be clear that the issue of truth in political advertising is an issue that is often conflated with this issue of mis and disinformation. This bill that I have been consulting on is about the systems and processes of the digital platforms, the need for transparency and the need to codify the current voluntary code that is in place that has basically no enforcement powers and no ability for the regulator to get under the hood.
But if you're codifying it for the platforms, why wouldn't that apply to political advertising?
This is specifically about the conduct of the platforms, their systems and processes. But I also want to make clear that one of the reasons why there's an exemption in the draft consultation at the moment is because that is already regulated under the Australian Electoral Commission rules. Similarly, there have been calls for the media to be included as part of this regime. Again, the media is regulated under a separate set of standards. I want to be very clear to your listeners that this is specifically about the conduct of the digital platforms, holding them to account for the policies and processes they say are already in place. And I would also point out to your listeners that only in the last couple of weeks, Twitter, now known as X, has actually been found to be in breach of that voluntary code. But there is currently no ability for the regulator to hold them to account on that point, and that is precisely what we are seeking to address.
So in an instance like that, what should be the penalty?
The penalties that have been proposed in the draft bill are actually high. And again, we are proposing they are in the millions, could amount to millions of dollars in some cases, or a percentage of revenue, because, again, we recognise the scale and the wealth of these platforms. But again, we are consulting on all these issues in the draft consultation bill at the moment. But it is vitally important that we keep Australians safe, because we know that there are bad actors out there, in particular, who are seeking to harm Australians through the use of mis and disinformation.